Hello everyone, this is the video presentation of our topic. Lesson 12, Developing Critical Thinking Among Literature Learners. So at the end of this lesson, you are expected to analyze situations that promote thinking skills among literature classes, differentiate the higher order and lower order, and craft a brief literature activity to promote use of critical thinking among literature learners. So let me read to you the introduction. What is passive teaching and learning to you? You might have thought of purely lecturing or situation where a teacher dominates class literacy, as defined by UNESCO 2004. Is an ability that can be developed through time. It is associated with varying contexts to achieve pupils' goals, to build their knowledge and potential, to participate fully in their community and broader society. This means the effective classroom for literacy should ignite the use of critical thinking skills among learners. In that way, active learning is achieved. In this lesson, you will be immersed in strategies and techniques to activate critical thinking among the learners. Before we proceed to the discussion, what does critical thinking means? Critical thinking is a self-directed process by which we take deliberate steps to think at the highest level of quality. It is reasonable, reflective thinking that is focused on deciding what to believe or do. It is also a skillful, responsible thinking that facilitates good judgment. Critical thinking is all about asking questions, the right questions that help you assess the meaning and the significance of claims and arguments. It involves stepping back from situation to enable you to see all the angles before making judgment or taking decision. It means identifying the key points, analyzing the sources of information, weighing up different types of evidence. To be a true critical thinker means being creative, reflective, and adaptive. Evaluating the evidence to decide for yourself what is accurate, what is relevant, and do I have sufficient information to take a decision on this topic? To use these higher order critical thinking skills can help you to feel much confident in your own opinions and conclusions. It is also about a sense of discovery and excitement, not only about learning, but evaluating arguments to see how they stand up and filtering for yourself what resonates, is right or wrong. Critical thinking skills are vital to our students, but as educators that are bogged down doing all the other stuff we're required to do, how do we have time to integrate critical thinking skills into what we do every day? Well, luckily we don't to figure that out because Benjamin Bloom created something, the Bloom's taxonomy. This is a classification of questions, and as we climb the taxonomy up this pyramid, we get in the higher order thinking skills we can create our students when we use Bloom's taxonomy. So the first thing, Bloom's taxonomy, the very bottom, is to remember. This is the most basic level of questioning. This is what you usually ask your students, what parents usually ask their children. This is just recall of information. This is when you ask students for facts, the who, the what, the where, the why, and the how. You might use words like describe names, list, relate, find, tell, write. Most students are able to do this remembering. And remembering is important, but it doesn't display critical thinking skills. So as we climb, we're going to get into higher order thinking skills. So now we get to understanding. Now understanding is when we see students understand the information. You might ask questions with words like explain, compare, restate, and predict. This is when students are going to explain what happened in their own words. So they're not just spitting out facts, but they're actually starting to apply. And that is the next one. An apply is when students use information to some problems. You might use words like show me, complete this, use classify, examine, and illustrate. You might ask students to predict what would happen next or to the continue of the story, and then next or to continue the story. And then we get to analyze, and this is when students draw a conclusion. This is when you might use words like explain, examine, investigate, identify. You might use questions like why do you think that happened? What is this theme? Can you identify the parts? Then next we get to evaluate. And this is when students form an opinion. You might use words like justify, prioritize, recommend, and choose. This is when students are going to put themselves in the shoe of the character or whatever it is that you are learning that day. And then lastly, we have create. Now is at the top of the pyramid because this is where students are displaying the highest thinking, critical thinking. And this is when students are going to make something new. You might use words like create, plan, invent, construct, and imagine. This is what students are going to start to think about changes. They could make what they would do if they were in changes. So here we have in this Bloom's taxonomy. These are the 6 levels of higher order thinking skills. So we have here the lower order thinking skills. It is allowed the learners to plainly give back what the teachers provide them or what the book gave them. The material learned goes through no changes at all. The higher order thinking skills. Higher order thinking skills involve the use of the piece of learning given to the learners in order to take concepts, combine the pieces of learning, evaluate something, or create something out of the learning.
Going back to inquiry-based teaching approach, we can say that questioning matter in a literature class in order to immerse the pupils to use their higher order thinking skills. One of the teaching strategy to achieve appropriate questioning and ensuring class participation is the 6 Thinking Hats by Edward de Bono in 1985. The 6 Thinking Hats can help you approach problems and inquiries from different perspectives, but one at a time to avoid confusion from too many angles crowding your thinking. Some of the benefits of using the 6 Thinking Hats as a teaching strategy to see higher order thinking skills. Number 1, it is a powerful decision-making technique while promoting collaboration among pupils. Number 2, it helps the learner explore the situation from each perspective at the same time. Number 3, it forces the learners to move outside their habitual thinking styles. Number 4, it allows the learner to look at things from several different perspectives, thus teaching them to be critical thinkers. Number 5, it permits the pupils to get a more rounded view of the literary piece and context upon which the piece is related. In primary grades, 6 thinking hats may be used with the literal colored hats to stimulate the pupils' curiosity. One good technique is that I should give the colored hat to each group of pupils. Each hat has one question inside it. You therefore allow them to brainstorm, use the hats as a guide, and add a color of suspense. If you opt for individualized learning, you may bring in class different colors hats. As you put on your head and color hat, you walk around the class and ask questions, reflecting the colors of the hat being worn. 6 thinking hats. First color is white. It is used to record information that is available from the text. It helps the learners identify further information that be needed. Red. It is associated with feelings and emotion. It allows the learners to talk about their feelings without prejudice. Yellow. It is used to elicit positive thoughts and views. It leads to learners to look for the benefits in given context. Black. It is associated with thinking quotient. It allows the learner to think about critical judgment. Green. It is used to generate creative thoughts. It allows learners to think in new ways, sound solutions, and better plans to solve problems at heart. Blue. It is related to controlling a process. It is used for thinking about thinking.
Now let us proceed to the learner-centered techniques. We have the passing the bouquet, trip to Jerusalem, and the question prompts wheel. In passing the bouquet, the teachers chose a familiar elementary song, grouped the class into 3 big circles, posed the critical question in front, asked the pupils to sing a song, let them pass or something, example, a pen, handkerchief, or a toy, while singing. When you say stop, pupils holding that thing will have the chance to answer the question. Next, we have the trip to Jerusalem. Group the class into 2 big circles. Arrange the chairs as in the typical trip to Jerusalem game. Pose the critical question in front. While playing a song, pupils will walk or dance around the chairs. When the music stops, pupils who are unable to sit in a vacant chair will have the chance to answer the question. Create a wheel or critical thinking question. Discuss each question on the wheel. Example, what does the question mean or what answer is needed? And the last, we have the question prompts wheel. Give each pupil a number. Using the number generator downloaded online, choose the pupil who will manipulate the wheel. When the wheel stops, the arrow that points to the question will be asked to the class or to the pupil participants. And take note that asking the right questions can go a long way in helping the learners to analyze the text. Remember, using critical thinking questions and combining them with techniques can also develop communicative skills and collaborative connections between and among the learners' classmates. At the same time, the class enjoyment to improve listening and speaking literacies is heightened.